Hello, this is Detective Masaji. Today I would like to talk some more about the background of Azuma Yuukoku. Azuma Yuukoku gained profit from loan sharks and telephone contracts using his fake driver's license. He also made fraudulent residence documents and sealed documents. He even became so bold as to rent an apartment under a fake name. However, he decided that he wanted to quit. He had earned so much through fraudulent means that he wouldn't need to work for several years. He started to think every day that the police would come if he contacted to do this sort of thing. When he was thinking this, the doorbell rang. When one of his friends come, he makes sure to telephone Azuma from a floor underneath his apartment. That is Azuma Yuukoku's rule for entering his apartment. This time, the telephone didn't ring. The doorbell rang. Azuma prepared in a hurry. Someone was calling his real name outside. Therefore, he knew immediately who was outside. The only people that know his real name is the police. Azuma answered, "Who is it?" The police answered, "Open the door. Open the door." They started to hit the door. He thought that the detective who was hitting the door was very weird and Azuma almost laughed. However, he regretted that he couldn't run away from the 11th floor. However, because of that, the floors underneath him are unobserved. If regular people did this, one would be surprised, but these are not regular people. If regular people did this sort of thing, they would be arrested. However, Japan seems to show a blind eye to a certain extent of police doing this sort of thing, so Azuma understood why it is called government power. Azuma prepared a wig that he bought from Don Quixote, placed it on his head, and went to the door. He suddenly remembered something very important. Azuma took out a stun gun from a drawer, and shot it at the computers in the room. When he saw that all 3 computers had been electrocuted and crashed, he threw the stun gun at the balcony and immediately prepared to head downstairs. He hurriedly pulled out the power cords of the computers right before leaving, and all 3 of the computers were forcefully shut down. Azuma opened the refrigerator and drank down some Red Bull. He threw the can in the garbage and had the feeling of growing wings. He remembered the slogan, "Red Bull gives you wings." He looked at himself in the mirror and said, "What a good-looking guy." When Azuma opened the door, police yelled at him saying, "When I say open quickly, you open quickly. I have something to talk to you about. You are without a doubt Taro Yamada." Azuma replied, "Are you a detective? Who is that person? I think you have me mixed up with someone else." As Azuma talked smoothly, the police glared at him as if saying that the police won't be fooled. The police replied, "Do you have any ID? Can you prove that you are not Taro Yamada? You're using the name Azuma Yuukoku, aren't you?" Azuma's heart beat intensely. However, he thought that he shouldn't show it on his face because police read people by facial expressions. Azuma answered, "My name is Daki Hasegawa. What sort of proof are you talking about? I am busy right now. Can we do this later?" When Azuma walked outside and headed towards the elevator, the detectives followed him. Azuma said, "Why are you following me? Did I do something bad?" Azuma pushed the button for the first floor and then one of the detectives told him, "Don't move. I am talking with you right now. Don't move." Azuma replied, "Detective, did I do something wrong? Why shouldn't I move? I need to go to work." The detective said, "Before you do that, show me some proof that you are not Taro Yamada." The elevator arrived at the first floor. As one might think, Azuma was questioned again when he approached his car. The detective said, "Is this your car? Do you have a driver's license?" Azuma replied, "Of course I do. One cannot drive in Japan without one, can I?" The police knew that Azuma Yuukoku didn't have a driver's license, so he was told to show one when he tried to enter his car. Azuma said, "I am going now, so I am just going to show you." The detective naturally tried to take the driver's license. Azuma said, "I told you that I would just show you it. I am busy." He then explained how to write his so-called name in kanji. Azuma's apartment was somewhere in Tamada Nakanishi Nariku, Osaka-shi. His home address is somewhere in Hanahata Adaki, Tokyo. The police told him to wait while they wrote down his driver's license number. Azuma suddenly realized something. These detectives did not have an arrest warrant or a search warrant. Azuma said, "Detective, you don't have any authority to detain me, do you? It would cause a lot of commotion if a common person that didn't do anything was detained. Are you going to conduct an illegal investigation by keeping me here?" I said something that I shouldn't have said. Regular people don't use the phrase illegal investigation in Japan. When using that phrase, one is thought to have a certain type of knowledge. Therefore, Azuma quickly added, "My father is a lawyer. Should I call him?" Azuma started the car very slowly. He then said, "I am returning home after 9 p.m. and I have work around this time, so come again." He then started to drive the car, Toyota Mr. S, and stepped on the gas. He drove 160 kilometers per hour on a 40 kilometers per hour road. He was glad those detectives were idiots. He was safe because of his fraudulent driver's license that he made himself. He thought this might happen, so he disguises himself by using a wig and darkening his eyelashes. He then looks 10 years younger. Azuma thought about doing plastic surgery on his face, but if he were to have surgery every time he had a close call, he would begin to forget his original face. He likes his original face, so he stopped thinking about plastic surgery. He couldn't go back to the same apartment again, and he couldn't use the same driver's license again. By showing the police the driver's license, it would be found out that the document used is fake and the name registered for the apartment is fake. Azuma shivered at the thought of how many years he would be in prison. For the time being, he decided to eat a meal. Today he felt like eating the specialty cabbage rolls with a demi-glace sauce from Maruyoshi in Tennoji. After thinking about where he should move next, he knew that even if he rented an apartment with a fake driver's license, he would never be able to escape if the police came after him. He felt uneasy being in the same spot for too long. The reason the police came this time was because of a rat. Normally, police will look up where someone lives through their residence records, but he had not changed his address from where he was born in Tokyo. That is why he was so surprised that the police had found him. Even in the underground world, people who don't have it in them will spill information in police interrogations. In other words, you cannot trust just anyone in the underground. He decided never to trust anyone ever again. When his cabbage rolls were served to him, Azuma forgot everything and dived in with a fork and knife. He had a peculiar way of eating his cabbage rolls, which was to cut the cabbage roll into a bite-sized piece and tap it on his rice before putting it in his mouth. The moment he bit into the cabbage roll, he was filled with joy. He always ordered the corn dressing for his salad. His large serving of rice disappeared in no time, and he was satisfied as he took the last bite of his cabbage roll. Azuma never gambled, spent money on women, or did drugs. His only hobby was eating good food. Azuma would pay as much as it took for a delicious meal. He had always wanted to go to the Japanese restaurant called Kiko in Arashiyama, Kyoto. There is a referral system in order to get a reservation. In other words, it was a first-class restaurant that you couldn't enter unless someone introduced you to it. Even if he said he would pay good money to eat there, if Mr. Akime says no, that's it. The idea of eating there mesmerized Azuma. Azuma had always worked for good food, but somehow he had ended up in the counterfeit business. The moment he finished his meal, he got a phone call. It was a customer in the Tokyo underground area. They asked Azuma to sell them a set of 3 bank items, including a forged driver's license and a forged name stamp certificate, for 400,000 yen. A bank item set is a complete set of bank passbooks, debit cards, and a mobile banking account. Azuma said, "I'm sorry, but I would like to stop doing business with you." His customer replied, "I won't ask you again if you do this one last time." The customer on the phone was adamant that this job was absolutely necessary, but Azuma refused. The customer said, "I really need you to make this. I really need it. I will pay you 600,000 yen. Azuma refused. He wasn't a money-driven person to start with. When he was young, he worked in the nightlife business, and it was when the economy was on the rise, so drunk women would throw 10,000 yen bills on the floor. While other men would thank the women and scramble to pick up the money on the floor, Azuma never took notice. As a child, Azuma grew up in a poor environment and there was no food at home. He would work together with his sister to overcome their trials, which was what made Azuma into who he is today. His sister taught him how to wash rice. When she took the rice out of the rice bin, there was something brown in it. Upon closer inspection, it was a maggot. Azuma was disgusted with the amount of bugs in their rice. The bugs would multiply when left alone. His sister was afraid of insects, so she told Azuma to wash the rice. He would cry, "I'm afraid of bugs too. I don't want to eat this rice." This was when he was in 3rd grade. But his sister would say, "Right now, this is the only food we have at home. Mom and Dad aren't home, so this is all we have." Then, his older sister, who was 7 years older than him, slapped Azuma on the cheek. "You're a guy, stop whining. Man up. Why are you afraid of bugs? You're a guy. Hurry up and wash the rice." When he put a lot of water in the rice, brown bugs floated to the top. The maggots that had been hiding in the rice floated to the surface of the water. Azuma had never seen so many maggots in his life. He hurriedly flushed the bugs down the drain. When he added more water, more bugs floated to the top again. After repeating that about 5 times, no more insects floated to the surface, so he knew the bugs had all been washed out. However, Azuma still did not want to eat the rice. As he drained the bugs out of the rice, he also poured rice down the drain. His sister had made him wash 3 cups of rice, but by the time he had washed the bugs and rice down the drain, there was only about half left. His sister, not knowing Azuma had washed rice down the drain, said, "Put water up to this line, since you washed 3 cups of rice, and start the rice cooker in 30 minutes. Azuma poured water to the 3-cup mark. All he had to do left was push the cook button. The clock said it was 7:30 p.m., so he had to start the rice cooker at 8 p.m., but he did not have an appetite. A while after pressing the button on the rice cooker made a sound. It was the sound to signal that the rice had finished cooking. For Azuma, it was a sound from hell. His sister said, "You can't just eat it right when the rice cooker beeps. You need to let it rest for a while before eating it." Azuma thought his sister knew everything, so he would always do what she said. He believed that his sister had the solution to any problem. After a while, his sister opened the rice cooker and said, "There's something wrong here. You put too much water in it." Azuma's sister slapped him again. He said, "I put the water to the 3-cup mark, just like you said. There's no way the rice would turn out like this if you put in the right amount of water. It's not manly to make up excuses." She hit him again on the cheek. Whenever Azuma would talk back to his sister, he would get slapped on the cheek. He said, "Why do you keep hitting me? You can't solve every problem with violence. I'm going to tell Mom." Azuma meant what he said about telling his mom, but his sister seemed unfazed. His mom was always on Azuma's side, so he trusted her, and had been waiting for her to come home for a long time. His sister put the runny rice in a bowl and tried to feed Azuma, but he pretended to be cranky to get out of it. He was hungry, but he did not want to eat it. He thought to himself, "Once I'm an adult, I'll never eat anything like this. I'll make a living and live well." Azuma had pride in refusing to eat the rice. He had pride in not picking up money that had been thrown on the ground just to watch men grovel on the floor. He never wanted to become a man who would stoop so low. Azuma knew that he had pride. He was proud of it. Azuma contacted his new girlfriend, who knows nothing of what Azuma actually does, or who he is. She texted him and said that her work would end at 6:30, so they decided to meet at a meta station in Osaka. He decided to start working on his last job. Azuma had made up his mind never to make fake driver's licenses or fake residency records, or anything else related to forgery ever again. But it was difficult to cut himself off completely from his line of work. He went to a truck terminal called Nanko in Sumino Ward, Osaka, to use the spare computer and printer in his car. During the daytime, not many cars go by this area, and even if they did, it's most likely just a truck or two. He put an inverter in the cigarette burner and connected it to his computer so he could charge his computer in the car. He had made it so he could make counterfeit IDs wherever he was. Azuma sat as he pondered what name he should use next. He was always thinking of names that he liked, and he had already used Daichi, Kento, Yuri, and Yugi. He was worried about what name to choose next, knowing that no matter what name he chose, the detective would surely show up again. He had printed his name, license number, birthday, etc. on a transparent film. He had a blank license and applied a special liquid on it and placed the film on top. The film stuck to the license like a sticker. When he looked at his new driver's license, the name read Azuma Yuukoku. That's the name the police had mentioned. "Aren't you using the name Azuma Yuukoku?" Azuma realized that he was, indeed, Azuma Yuukoku. Azuma had always been tough, but it was finally time to challenge the police. This is Detective Masaji signing off.
My name is Detective Masaji. I am a private investigator and author of the book Yakuza and the Underworld. I am the owner of yaminotante.org. I am licensed and have many years of experience in the USA and Japan. I can do background checks, corporate investigations, license plate checks, and much more. I have more than 20 years of experience in the industry and will bring in professional investigative agents to carry out service operations. Yaminotante is an American and Japan-based private investigation agency that seeks information and investigates corruption on behalf of our various clients. I am aware that running a standard private investigation agency can be demanding, which is why I am well trained and equipped to perform well. Yaminotante is a client-focused and result-driven private investigation agency that provides broad-based investigative services and other tactical solution services at an affordable fee that won't in any way put a hole in the pocket of our clients. I am not afraid to accept cases that other agencies will not accept. This includes investigations into organized crime and corrupt government officials. Some people think I am crazy. I think I am simply doing my job. Just as is written in my book, I have experience in investigating the underworld of Japan, and I am also very active in some very taboo cases in the USA as well. Contact me to tell me about your case. yaminotante.org